We are recording. So that's Salt Lake City Python. We're one of many of the meetup groups around here, including Python Utah North, and these both are under the umbrella organization of Utah Python, which is basically trying to serve Utah's technology scene through a nonprofit. And we provide things like, oh, hi, Dylan. Dylan's popped in. Dylan, we're recording already. And I'm going to make Dylan a co-host because I'm also presenting and I need a... There we go. So sorry about that. So we started, it's a thing, Utah Python. It's a nonprofit. It's a thing. Yeah, there's other technology groups. We have the PyLadies, Python at the Point. These all have their respective meetup groups. It's all linked in here. Definitely check them out. We have some websites, calls to action. You can go to any of these via our GitHub, and that'll have your source code. Feel free to make pull requests to that. Sponsors include Pythonistas like you. Thank you for your help, Pythonistas. Exhibition has been a long-time sponsor of our raffle prizes, including not this one specifically, but including stuff like this one, which is a PyPortal. There are a few on the way I ordered today. So we finally these are our last two little raffle prizes. So boom. And let's see. Oh, we will be giving these out at the end of the meetup, by the way, for those who stick around. What do we got? Let's see. Oh yeah, these are our Repo sponsors. Tech Systems has also sponsored a number of these meetups. They typically show up here, but they're great. I think that they're very professional in terms of how they approach recruiting, very respectful of both the needs of their client of trying to fill a role, but also the person who making sure that that person's going to be a good fit. So that's been my experience. If you'd like to sponsor, new sponsorship's always appreciated. We're tax deductible. Just send us an email or a meetup message and we can take it from there. For our new members, I spotted a couple of you. What I like to do is introductions. So if you're comfortable with introducing yourself, now is a great time to do so we can get to know you. Yeah, so if you want to introduce yourself, basically what we'll do is your name, occupation, and something usually non-coding related. So this time it'll be a spring cleaning project. So for example, my name is Ferris. I am a backend janitor at Invite. I fix a lot of code. My spring cleaning project is going to probably be, I didn't rake in the fall, so I really need to re-rake my entire lawn, and that's going to be a pain in the nose, so probably some power raking. And yeah, anybody else would like to introduce yourself? Go ahead and raise your hand. Or you can just speak up. There we go. Or yeah, there we go. So we can go at a time here. So we'll start with James. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi everyone. So I'm an engineer here at Invite. So I got your Slack message in our Slack group. So yay. So yeah, I've been trying to find a meetup group just to help develop my my professional career and improve on Python, and then just networking with people. I'm not from Utah. I started in the Bay Area when I first joined Invite, and I'm now in Southern California. So yeah, that's my background kind of. Yeah, and primarily I work on Python and trying to get better with JavaScript as well. Yeah, and I'm interested in just technology in general, cloud technology, AI, blockchain, things of that nature. Yeah.
Well, and then two questions for you then. What team at Invite?
I'm on the research team. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Oh, with the biomed side, or are you on the... Anyway, we could talk later. You and I are going to catch up. And then your other question was, what's a spring cleaning project you got coming up?
Spring cleaning, what does that mean? Sorry.
So every year, the weather gets better. We had a spike. Well, I guess you're from California. You don't understand the concept of spring being like the refuge from winter. But
Yeah, every season is spring for us.
yeah. Okay, well then, never mind, Bay Area. This isn't Bay Area guy. This isn't a question for you, James. No. Awesome. Good to meet you, James. Welcome to the group. As you can see, we're extremely formal. So, Jeff, do you want to take it away?
I think
Jeff
to me. Yeah, sorry. I've got not the best connection. Yep, Jeff Jex. I am a former geologist moving into data science. So Python has become my new best friend. And I'm currently located in Houston, and I'm looking to move to Salt Lake City area. And so I saw this, was like, oh, great chance to get to know some folks before I move up there, probably in the summertime. Spring cleaning, you may have heard. Houston kind of got the cold snap a little harder than other places. What would have been like it's a little bit of a extra cold day for Utah or other places up north, was like the coldest it's been in 40 years. So I had a pipe break and ripping out all the carpets, getting new carpet. So that's my spring cleaning.
I mean, I think everybody in Utah, our heart goes out for that, though. Like, everybody I know has had a pipe break or something like that. So, man, and dealing with it all at once. Oh, so nothing but sympathy from over here. Can't wait to have you in Utah, though, where we have this thing called gas straight to the house and keeps it warm with the furnace. So that'll be nice. You did say you're coming over to Utah. Was that?
Yeah. Planning to come up in the summer.
Excellent. Well, welcome to the group, and hopefully we'll see you in person at we'll see, maybe next summer, but we'll see. And then we have PyCon coming up. So, Sam, looks like you're new to the group as well. Welcome. You are muted.
Yeah, Sam Smith. Yeah, I'm sorry, I just had to come off mute.
No.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm from Utah. I haven't been to I guess this particular meetup. I used to go to the Utah Python ones south of the point of the mountain because I live in Linden. But you know, since it's Zoom, it doesn't really matter. My background is I used to be an academic. I was a professor for several years. My degree's in electrical computer engineering, but I was actually in an ocean engineering department, worked on autonomous underwater vehicles, did a lot of work with machine learning, and started using Python back in the 90s. So I was an early adopter of Python 1. But my project that I've been working on the last few years is in decentralized identity systems. And so just to shout out, I posted a link in the agenda and in the chat, but I'm actually got some funding from a nonprofit, and I'm looking for a full-time developer to help me work on a project for the Decentralized Identity Foundation under the Linux Foundation. So if anybody's interested in getting paid to work on open source, let me know.
Yeah, and then we have a specific spot on the agenda for you to talk more about this. And you already said all the stuff, so which is that you're here to talk about it. So we'll get to that.
Yeah,
I want to get to know Sam. We want to get to know Sam Smith here. So what's your spring cleaning project?
Well, we're gonna fix up our backyard this year. I just had somebody come help me fix up our fence that had sort of reached a point to where it tilted to where you couldn't open the gate. So just straightened that out and put in a cement mow strip, and we're gonna do, you know, I still gotta trim all the fruit trees in my backyard. So
yard work.
Yeah,
that's fun. Well,
nothing special other than just the same stuff every spring.
Yep, spring cleaning. Awesome. Well, good to have you with us, Sam. And yeah.
I guess for what I'm doing now, I'm just an independent. I have my own small company. I do consulting, but I've been primarily working in the decentralized identity space for the last few years.
Well, welcome aboard. Awesome. And speaking of which, I guess we'll go through these real quick. If everybody sees my screen here, who's hiring, these links. Oh, are these broken now? I guess these are now broken because it's 2021. Ha 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 ha. So the new job fair should pop up. Nope, I guess not yet. When the new job fair is out, I will update this link. And yeah, well, that kind of leads into community news right away. Usually we handle this a little bit later, but the first bit, and we'll circle back on, is PyCon 2021. It's virtual. The corporate fee is $150 and it goes down from there. If you are able to get your company to sponsor it, definitely try to pay that amount. But if you can't, there are other prices for people who can't pay the registration fee. It's looking to have some really interesting talks from what I heard from a little birdie who saw some of the submissions come in. So it looks like it'll be a lot of fun. And then the other fun news is 2022 PyCon will hopefully be in Salt Lake City. So that'll be awesome. Yeah, excellent. The next thing, so here we go. So Python Jobs HQ, this is another hiring site. Tech Systems, reach out to Kate Conroe. She is on our Slack. In Vitae, that's where I work. We're hiring. As you can see, we have some intrepid devs such as James Chan joining us, but we also have all kinds of stuff ranging from like Tableau experience in business and BI stuff all the way to Python and data modeling, all the way to like Python web stuff. So there's lots of positions there. Depends on the kind of work. Just be prepared to learn a lot about the biosciences. And if you think that's a bad thing, then it's not the gig for you. But if you think it's an awesome nerdy thing, then definitely hit us up. Verdigris, is this still open, Dylan?
Yes, both of those positions are still open. So Verdigris is a company of passionate individuals trying to actually do something about climate change in a way that also makes economic business sense. And the way we're approaching it is through smart buildings, energy monitoring, and AI and automation. We have 2 roles open, one to help with the data stack for the machine learning models. It's a infrastructure heavy, operations heavy role, working with Kubernetes, working with myself on deploying models. The full stack engineer role is we have open. This is kind of a mid-level. We're looking for somebody who knows JavaScript, who knows some Python, who can help us with our API work, as well as help a little bit on our dashboards and front end. So the links are there. And if you end up applying, reach out to me on the Python meetup, and I will let them know that you're coming through and to look for you.
Awesome. And I had one more shout out for a backend Django project for Score, which is a nonprofit that is set up to help small businesses. So if you're interested in some contract work, should be fairly straightforward stuff. I haven't fully vetted it, but I will get more information if you reach out to me. And then
Hey,
Sam, you had one to add here?
Well, I added it in the document, but it's not showing up on your page. It's showing up on my copy. So is there something I have to do to get it to refresh?
Let me refresh here.
Shouldn't have to. It's there. It's supposed to be a live editor.
There it is. Nah,
There it is.
me. I think I was
Okay.
on my. I'm gonna hop
Concurrent editing is hard.
Yes, it's a CRDT
Yes.
issue. Hold on. And you know what? I think I'm on my company VPN, which gets slow. So hold on. Oop. We still with you?
Yeah, I'm still here. Do you want me to talk?
No, this is good. I still hear you all. So yeah, go ahead and oh yes. Talk as in yes, please introduce your position.
Yeah, so the Global Legal Entity Identifier Foundation has adopted something called CARI for Key Event Receipt Infrastructure. It's a new non-shared ledger-based decentralized identity system that's based on cryptographic operations. If there's a link there at CARI.one, there's a bunch of links on that site to like the white paper and stuff like that, so you can look in detail. But I have funding through that foundation to support at least one full-time equivalent developer to work. It's Apache 2 open source under the Decentralized Identity Foundation. There's also a link there for the Decentralized Identity Foundation. So it's it's a should be a really high profile, you know, open source project that has immediate application in the financial world for making what are called verifiable legal entity identifiers based on the W3C verifiable credential standard and the new W3C decentralized identifier standard. And then this would be a particular type of decentralized identifier that uses a unique form of key management for control over the identifier. So it's sort of like replaces certificate authorities, but without having to use a blockchain. So it's portable across all infrastructures.
Sounds really cool. Yeah, awesome. Do other people know of any positions in or around the Utah area or anything that would be interesting?
I guess I could type my email in that link there.
Going once, going twice. Okay, totally fine. Now is the point in the meetup where we poll the audience and we see, hey, if you're looking to work on something Python related, this is a great chance to raise your hand. Go ahead and market yourself. Let us know who you are. When you have a chance, please update this Etherpad right here with your details, and that'll help people get a hold of you. So if you are interested in finding a job right now, want to tell us about it, go ahead and raise your hand in Zoom or just do a react. I can see either one. Oh, nice. I like this market. Going once. Going twice. Nice. Okay, sweet. I like it when it's like this. More demand than people trying to get hired, I guess. Sure, now's your chance. Okay, well, sweet. Community news, PyCon 2021. Please get your tickets if you haven't already. Link is in the description. Oh, sorry, the Etherpad. And then the other thing is Python 3.9 was released. That was like pretty much the beginning of the year. Python 3.10 has a release candidate out, and we'll actually be playing with it a little bit later in the meetup today. So yeah. All right, any other community news that is kind of fun? We want to talk about the package poisoning. Anybody not know what package poisoning is, and you came to a Python meetup to learn what package poisoning is?
What's
Tom?
package poisoning?
So we had in the community, there was an incident about a week ago where the Python index, which is, where you can get any Python library uploaded and where anybody can upload a Python library to, had, I think it was 2,000 or 20,000 packages uploaded that were typos of common packages. So things like common misspellings, but also like combinations that don't exist of Python packages. And it was one user, and it looks like they were trying to prove a point that packages are not safe to just willy-nilly install. And I will say, yes, that's a good point. Don't make your point like that. It's not good behavior, just FYI. But also, PyPy is an index. It is not a whitelist. So you still have the due diligence that you need to do, or you could rely on a third-party service to figure out which Python packages you want to be importing. A great way to do that is to go to your local user group and see what they're using in their day-to-day. So if you're here right now, you're already like 80% there. But just an interesting thing that happened last week. The packages were removed, the packages in question, but it is something that has happened before. So yeah. Another thing before we get into the meetup notes, the April 7th meetup, I don't think we have a set speaker quite yet. And even if we did, now is a great chance to start thinking about, hey, what do I want to talk about? So we will be having our meetup on April 7th for our next one. So we're looking for speakers.
I'm happy to speak on decentralized identity if anybody's interested.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, be sure to
I'm interested.
join the this meetup channel in our Python Slack. I will paste a link to it in general. Oh, by the way, this is also where we'll be doing the raffle. Is I grab everybody's names in here and then use that. So awesome. Yeah, I'm kind of running double duty today, so doing the talk and emceeing is kind of, it's fun and tricky, but also Dylan's here, so everything's gonna be better now, right, Dylan?
It's going to be okay, Ferris.
Okay, good. Teaching and learning Python. The reason I'm going to talk to Dylan is Dylan's going to be kind of my young student right now, because the way I like to update people, I like to give this every couple of years, this whole spiel of like, how do you teach Python in year X? And did one in 2019. Now it's 2021. A few things have changed, but not much. So let's talk about them. So we're going to pretend I'm teaching Dylan how to code. Dylan comes to me, some intrepid computer user. Maybe he's written his thesis on something and he's used Excel before and he knows that computers can like calculate stuff. It's pretty awesome. But his friends keep telling him, man, Python, you should get into Python. He wants to know, how the heck do I get into Python? So Dylan's going to role play this a little bit. So thank you.
You're welcome.
So
how do I get into Python?
Yeah, there we go. Thank you. This is improv night. If it's the second Wednesday, it's always improv night. How about that ISP, huh? So I would say to Dylan, go ahead and get a GitHub account. Making sure that people, they're able to register for a website. It's kind of also a screener. It's important to make sure that you understand the basics of like, okay, I have an email, it's going to receive messages to it. I have passwords I have to keep secure. Like knowing this stuff, it's actually kind of important. And this is coming from me as somebody who I used to teach 80-year-olds how to use computers, like back at the 2010s, in a previous life in Canada, where the context of that is I don't know that like what to do when the mouse reaches the edge of the mouse pad, right? Yes, you could lift it and keep moving it, but that's not intuitive to certain users. So keep that in mind. If they can get a GitHub account going on their own and they set it up, that's great. I would say the next step then is once they're on their GitHub, and this is where we get to do some live coding, have them log in. And now you get to see all of my stuff too, huh? So, and have them just make a new repo right off of the GitHub UI. So this is my suggestion these days, and I'll show y'all why, but I am gonna go with Didactic Disco. I always love that it comes with these not awesome names. But anyway, come up with these awesome name and, learning Python in 2010, not 2020. So I'm pretending Dylan's doing this, right, Dylan? And he hits that, and they'll ask, oh, what are all these things? Whatever, just hit create. It's okay. You don't need to get ignore even. And then see, if you've been coding for a while, you might say, oh, okay, I'm going to teach them about Git and I'm going to teach them to clone. No, what you're going to be telling your intrepid Dylan over here is, okay, this is kind of your workspace. Like this is where you're going to be working from, is your GitHub right now. So we're going to make a new file and we're going to call it, I don't know, we'll call it code.py. I mean, the simplest of simple names, right? And we're going to just do print hello world. And then everybody's going to say, oh my God, that's like everything that, or like everybody always writes hello world. But you know what? You're going to spice it up with an emoji because that's required to keep these 2021 kids focused and on task. I told you, this is like my talk on how to do this in 2021. You have to have the emoji now. So go ahead and, commit this file. Boom, and look at that. Now, the reason we do, this whole convoluted mess is now what we're going to do is tell them about this awesome thing called code spaces. So code spaces is the real crux of this talk, of this 2021. Raise your hand if you have used code spaces. No? Raise your hand if you've never heard of this ever and you're like, wait, what is this? And you're interested, but also scared a little bit. Jeff, thank you for your candor. It's okay to be scared. Awesome. Lots of people, huh? So there we go. So let's go ahead and open it. I'm going to make a new code space. I have a couple that are old, so I'm going to trash them. Boom. So you can have 2 of these at a time. And basically, this is a computing environment. And I don't know all the pricing details, but I do know I have a pro account. So it might be the case that you need a pro account, but I don't think so. I think you get a code space, at least one for free. If somebody wants to confirm that right now while I'm setting this up, that would be very helpful. But I'm pretty sure this is actually included now. And there we go. This is a code space. So what does this look like? Anybody? I'll take answers from the audience. It looks like VS Code. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, is that what you're saying, James?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say that's VS Code.
Yeah, it is actually full-on VS Code. It has a terminal and everything. So when you open code.py and it says you want to install the recommended extension for Python, yeah, you say, heck yeah, I want to install it. And it'll install that. And let's see. You should be able to now make a run and debug configuration. So this is where I definitely am not really hard and fast on my opinion on the 2021 way of doing this. Perhaps the 2021 way of doing this is to create a configuration and just say run, and then let this try to run. And notice it is loading the extension in the background. It has Jupyter in here. While that's loading, I will mention this loads. You can do Docker environments in here as well. Like this is fairly extended box that you are given this code space for free. So kind of nifty. Another thing I'll note, if you have an iPad or any kind of tablet, and especially the iPad, this is the only way I've seen to code on an iPad that doesn't make you want to tear your hair out. So kind of nifty. Yeah.
Ferris,
Yo.
how did you open this up, the code space?
That is a good question. Like, where's this magic? In any GitHub repo, and this is our sneak preview for the next talk today, you can go to code, and then it should say open with code spaces, and I'm hoping people see this.
I do not have that.
No?
I'm looking at my GitHub. It says I need to join the waitlist to. I guess it's still in beta. So
Yeah, it looks
is it
like
still in beta? I thought they pulled this out of beta by now.
I went to their site. And it says if you join the beta, you get something. You can use it for free. That's all I know.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, there goes my whole. Okay, well that's okay because you can click open with VS Code. Oh, it's still in early access, eh? I honestly thought they released this last month because I saw there was a thing going around on Hacker News where people were clicking this link and it was opening up a code space right into their code, and they thought it was the coolest thing. And I was like, that's just a code space. What's so special about that? But
You're so cutting edge, Ferris. That was like 2 months ago.
I know, right? That's my duty to the
everybody
group is to stay up on this stuff,
It's true.
That's the excuse I come up with, at least. So yeah, it looks like there's going to be some billing with this, but I can't believe it's still Beta. Okay, well, when it's not beta, pretend it's not beta. Do this. Okay, 2021 sometime. Hopefully this is released. Dylan's just like, why are you teasing us? For the record, I don't think I was on the waiting list longer than a day. So still free. So maybe that's step 2. Okay, my apologies, everybody. Let's just.
I do like this for because one of the things is various environments. So if you're on Windows or Linux or Mac, or if you're on a Chromebook, like especially for people who are new, like they just bring whatever device they have. And
Yeah, that's part of why I thought this was released already. It's so useful. And now I'm very annoyed with myself. Okay, well, that's okay. Python code.py. This should just run. And it actually has, all of the little UTF things and Unicode things that you need to have emojis. So that's just lovely. The other thing that you'd probably, and this is why another reason, Dylan, I wanted to talk about code spaces. This has pip built right in. You don't have to tell anybody about in virtual environments or any of that stuff. You just tell them, okay, well, pip install, and well, I don't know, what's a fun one? Let's do requests.
Utah.
Firsts. Okay, this will probably not work because it's demo time. Maybe. I did like that IPython works right out of the. That's so nice. So import Utah and Utah dot. Come on, tab complete, please. No. That's right. From Utah import. I wonder if we got taken over. Just kidding. I haven't played with this package forever, Dylan, so. We'll do requests. Okay. Dylan, I thought you were supposed to be role-playing somebody who doesn't know Python, by the way. How would you know about Utah in the first place?
Because it's the coolest place.
Yeah. So by the way, for people out of the loop, which is like everybody right now, Utah is a package that we published about a year ago that I need to update, but it supposedly will pull the latest meetup and show you when it is. It's just a dumb novelty Python package that you should never, ever, ever run in production. R equals requests dot get. The other thing I'll mention as we're typing, notice the, and I don't know why my theme is like this right now, but notice the auto completion is built in as well. So that's really nice. And then the other thing was, how does one save on this? And the Command S actually, for whatever reason. Oh, actually, they did fix this. Okay, never mind.
Don't complain, it's still in beta.
Yeah, right. See, now request didn't work. Of course, because I'm demoing, right? Where did request get installed to then? Is everybody enjoying the meetup? It's Ferris bubbling around night with code spaces. But yeah, are there any questions so far? Please have questions. Dylan, do you have questions as you're learning how to?
When was the, have you been teaching anybody recently? Like immediately recently?
Not directly. I've been teaching Lexi, of course, and that's my wife for people who are out of the loop there. I have been teaching virtually, but it hasn't been since like August, and that was through Big Brother, Big Sister, and it was very informal. So it's been a while. The other thing I will say for COVID times that's really nice for this, I guess I can, no, not this, where is it? Here it is. So, oh, no. I keep saying here it is. I should, oh, you know what? No, not that button. I'm trying to remember how to set this this run command, and there it is, command palette. Okay, so the command palette actually, because I'm running Firefox, it's also the open private window key by default. So just FYI, that's what that was.
On a show of hands, who did Ferris just freeze? I think he might have just frozen. How many other people have been have taught others how to code? The little show of hands or the reaction. Nice, so a couple people. What's been one of the hardest things about teaching somebody to code?
I think not related to code, but just in general for teaching is patience, not trying to step in and do it all yourself. That's a hard one.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm actually a tutor myself for a lot of STEM topics besides programming, like chemistry, physics, math, and I have to agree patience is important. But as a guy trying to learn programming, I have to admit, setting up packages, just like what's happening right now, is like the bane of my existence, and trying to get like the environment properly configured is. So it's actually kind of comforting to see that other people are struggling with this too. That was just me.
Yeah, I agree. I think the package management is hard. And Python doesn't always help you. I've definitely helped a few people through that, especially from the like, this is how Node does it to this is how Python does it transition. For those who have taught people, how do you usually set up their environments?
Am I back?
I've had them go onto like Colab or something like that, or Binder or something, some Jupyter notebook type thing.
Yeah, that's a nice solution too. So those who aren't familiar with Colab, it's a hosted version of a Jupyter notebook, which lets you execute code, and it's hosted by Google, and so it's part of just like the Google suite of things. Nice to have you back, Ferris. You froze there. People currently raising their hand or have also taught other people, and I was sort of getting a conversation going around teaching people to code.
Yeah, Colab is also excellent. That would actually be a very close second choice to me. What I like about this approach for teaching how to code is that it does get you in the revisionist kind of mindset of like, hey, like you can make mistakes because you're gonna have Git behind you. So that was kind of what I wanted to touch on. But yeah,
Git in and of itself can be a challenge.
That's why I was trying to stick to the Git interface, GitHub interface. And yeah, I don't recommend against GitHub Desktop anymore. Old Ferris used to. Do we want to dive into Python 3.10, or do people have other questions or experiences they want to share about using and teaching Python? Anybody? Yeah, we can dive in. Let's dive into 3.10. We'll start with, can everybody see this okay, my screen? Should probably switch it away from dark theme, but I forgot how. Anyway. I'm gonna do that real quick.
You want to switch to bright mode?
Yeah, I got it.
Oh, okay.
It's to go to your profile, and then there's like a little switch. So this is something I whipped up, let's see, 2 hours ago. I actually had a bit of this on my machine already, but I just wanted to get it all on GitHub. This is Python 3.10 in a Docker image that is pretty much ready to go and play with in a playground. Specifically, I tried to get a match command as like something to play with. So this is the new operator called match, and it has some really specific ways to call it. And I was thinking that we could review it a little bit. So matching sequences, their example is like, what are you doing next? And then you analyze the split. But in this case, you can do a match command.split. And then once you're in this context, the syntax kind of changes. And this was kind of a fairly controversial addition to the library, but I think it's kind of handy. Maybe too many batteries included, but I can totally see the other side of why you would want this in core Python. So I'm very ambivalent. I don't have an opinion on whether or not this should be in here. I just think that we should try it out, and you can decide for yourself. Like, let's poke around with it, right? So with all that being said, and despite the fact that I've been using VS Code for the last little bit, I am going to switch us over to PyCharm because everything's nice and humming on that. And gonna snooze this, and I have everything set up the way I like on here. So, so I started with our example here, and can everybody see this okay? Yeah. So notice right off the bat, if you've ever used a bleeding edge Python before with new syntax, most editors, they're gonna, they haven't caught up yet. So right off the bat, we see the syntax is getting marked with the red squigglies, but that's not really what we want to do. What I want to do right now is I was going to put a debugger statement here. So I have set trace right here, but instead I am going to do something like this, where I return action and object, and I'm going to print it up here.
Hey, if we have a question, do you want us to put it in the chat or just interrupt you?
Let's have Dylan, can you watch the chat for me? And yeah, go ahead and put them in the chat, and then Dylan's good at interrupting me. Oh, and then somebody in the chat actually asked, we can touch base on this real quick. So pyenv.
That was probably in response to I asked how they help. I asked people how you set up environments for people learning, and pyenv is a good choice. I mean, there's definitely this balance between, like, notebooks are great, but they're not good coding tools. They're like a fast, quick, and dirty way to start coding and show that you can, like, prove to somebody you can. But like layering on things like PyEnv, like that's gonna get you further. Things like Docker, like eventually you have to learn those, but it can be a lot.
It certainly can. I think as well, you have to also think about where is your student coming from? If they are just barely, like, they learned how to do touch typing, that's a completely different person than somebody who has been doing spreadsheets their whole life. And that's completely different than somebody who is, much more familiar with anything else with a computer. So it's all about that. Maybe somebody knows how to use a phone really well, but the students that are in front of a desktop, it's different. So, okay, looked at new match syntax, Sam. Okay, so prologue. This is one of the reasons. I don't have all the context of why this was selected, but I would recommend diving into I haven't had a chance to do this myself, is my point. PEP 634 goes into the specification. And then for motivation, actually, to get to your point, is 635. So this is like the why. So let's actually, I'm just going to quickly look for the word prologue. And it looks like it wasn't brought up, Sam, but it's a good point. It smells like prologue, doesn't it? So yeah, let's play with this some more. So this is kind of the tutorial I'm following along with, by the way. So this is actually the most primary source you can get when it comes to Python is the python.org. I am totally blanking on what PEP stands for.
Python Enhancement Proposal.
Enhancement Proposal, yes.
Yep.
And so
this is essentially the feature requests for all of Python.
Yes, this is how you do a pull request into Python.
Yeah, basically, like if you want something new in Python, it goes through this. And it's funny, there's people are probably familiar with PEP 8, which is a Python enhancement proposal. It's the 8th one where they actually wanted to do strict typing or strict syntax. And it was a proposal of how to do the syntax, how syntax should be done. And in the end, they said, we'll just keep it as like a guide and not actually enforce it.
And so now there's tools that are named after PEP 8 instead of, but yeah, there's lots of things like that as well. I also always have to say, watch the talk beyond PEP 8 whenever PEP 8 is brought up. All right. So how many people, in their day-to-day, just raise their hands, how many people are like doing string matching all the time? Like you're using regex somewhere or something tricky like that. And it's part of your workflow. And beyond even like the interview question, right?
Yeah, I do.
Matt?
He's quite a few.
I know that I'm running into it a lot. Regex matching is another case of this. So this is kind of porting over something that we've seen in other languages, which is a way to do pattern matching syntaxes. Another thing I've seen other languages do is kind of make a DSL, which is a domain-specific language. So, for example, if in Java land, that's kind of the hotness is instead of writing code to write a user interface, why don't we write code that writes a language that lets the user write the code that they need? So a big example in that world is telephonic systems. So instead of like coding out a whole telephonic system, or instead of telling somebody just type it in step 1, step 2, step 3, you can kind of have the best of both worlds where they're typing in the phone tree, right? They're typing in, for option A, press whatever, and you're giving them the code to write that. So that's kind of an advanced implementation of something like this. Would be like straight up like domain, a DSL language. I don't know. I'd be curious if somebody tried to use it for this. the other place is matching sequences. And then, what was it? You can do conditions on patterns. We'll touch on that a little bit. Here we are. So matching objects. What you can do is you set up a data class in Python. So this is basically, instead of being really strict about the typing at runtime, what we can do is we can just run a series of checks for what types we're expecting. And in this case, we can define this class called click, and it even has these cases. And let's see. And this is how we match against finding a click data class case. So kind of tricky, but let's play with it. Okay, so I have Python 3.10 running. The other reason I put the repo out there in public is I would encourage that you pull down that repo and pull down that Docker image. And yes. And yeah, so Sam's comment, Python does not have a case statement per se. It's the pattern matching has a case statement. So, and that was one of the things in the proposal was there could be confusion about Python adding a case statement, but it's not really the case that Python has a case statement. And that was a confusing sentence. But anyway, let's play with this some more. I'm gonna go ahead and run this at debug mode, and hopefully this worked like an hour ago. So hopefully it's still working. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so this is running and my assert failed, of course. So I'm going to try to stop things a little bit sooner. Just to make sure. And is anybody unfamiliar with the debugger? Go ahead and raise your hand and I can give kind of an explanation. Oh, everybody's used a debugger before? Going once, come twice. Okay. I'm gonna do one thing I think I need to do. Come on, buddy. Trying to get it to stop in the right place, but it's not wanting to stop. This is what I get for live coding. There we go. Now we're stopped. Okay. So I have the debugger running. We are frozen on this statement right here. So we'll jump to this match. And the reason I wanted to do it this way was to see what variables we're getting in here. So I want to see what action and object end up being. Yeah, it seems that's where we're crashing. So I wonder if I had some bad syntax. Well, that's okay. We'll just jump into the Python console. And then notice we're running 3.10 A6. So let's do this. So here's what we would normally get with a command split, right? I'm curious how, this is how I learned new Python syntax. And I've been saying that it's familiar with Rust. I haven't dove into Rust that much yet. So let's see if you are still agreeing with me by the end of this demo.
Ivan, have you used it in Rust?
Yes.
Interesting that it failed here.
By the way, I optimized Python code using Rust, and it works 100 times faster.
Yeah. Oh, don't get me wrong. I will never start a war with which language is faster. I know
Sorry?
that Python's strengths come from its community and like comprehensibility, but it's also the second best language at everything.
Yeah.
It's great for sharing some code and like getting an idea off the ground, but if you need to get down to the metal, yeah, I'm with you. Something like Rust or Go is probably better suited.
By the way, it was a module for Python.
It was a, sorry?
It was a PyO3 module for Python.
What was the match? Or
in Rust.
Oh, okay. There is a Python module in Rust?
Yep.
Oh, excellent. Now you have me very intrigued, and if I wasn't presenting, I'd probably be Googling this in the background, but let's see, yeah. I'm confused why this isn't working. Anybody have some ideas?
When you execute the code, is it executing it in the right Python?
It's a good question. Interesting, it's not getting even that far. So when we execute the PyTest, it is using the remote interpreter. So I set up a Docker to do this, and yeah, so it should be.
Are you getting print statements? I can't remember. When it runs? So like before a fancy syntax, just do some print statement debugging.
See, this is why it helps to code with a friend.
Yeah.
Let's see. Expecting this, right? Keep it nice and exact, just to make sure that it's not actually something weird I did with the string there. Shouldn't be. Boom. Boom. And actually, I think it was this split, by the way, Dylan. I need to study the case object a little bit more, but this is how you call it. Or sorry, not object. I keep saying object. It's an operator. Everything in Python's an object, though, but specifically, we are opening up a new context with this operator. So, so supposing somebody put hello world in here, have that, turn action object, and so the result is a tuple of 2. This is cheating, but yeah, this is how you get test to pass. And we'll rerun this. Test-driven development. All right, so here is our result. So in the actual code, we match the command that is split and we introduce a case. So let's explore that a little bit. So anybody have another example in mind they want to play with? We could do this one. So we can do a sub pattern. So has anybody played one of those really old like text-based adventure games? Go ahead and raise your hand.
Yeah.
I have, just for funsies, but it definitely wasn't like the only game I had when I was a kid. But Matt did. But this is kind of the example they're using, so I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, isn't that from Zork?
Yeah, Zork, good old Zork. Oh, okay, cool. We can use the as pattern. So, oh, okay. So check this out. So let's say you wanted to capture a case where if somebody says like, go, the next words have to be one of these four. You can do this selection right here, north or south or east or west. And then you can use this as operator to pass that selection as the variable. So what this will let you do, if I understand correctly, is you should be able to return direction. And then this is why you do test-driven development, because now I can do this and say expected is, let's say, go north.
I think it should just be north,
Yeah.
right? Or south.
Or does it match the whole thing? So I said go south. Oh yeah, good point. So first off, it's south. But secondly, I'm curious if it's going to match the whole thing. Again, we're learning this together. I just figured this would be a fun environment to play with Python 3.10, and so. And yes, so the test didn't pass. And yes, Dylan was correct. The difference is the actual was, oh, I have this mixed up. My apologies.
Does anybody else feel like this is a whole lot of like weird uses of typical Python syntax to make this work? Like this like case bracket as is in the middle.
Well, I
colon.
think it's a context manager to say everything below this line is now like doing some matching. So it makes some intuitive sense, but I could see.
But there's no with. There's no with statement, right? So it's not a
That's
context
true.
manager anymore. It's now
Yeah.
custom syntax.
But I would almost say instead of with, it's like read match as like a special kind of with statement. But I see, I know what you mean. It is a little bit, it's not as Pythonic as other stuff I've seen.
It's been my whole impression that this is just like a lot of like
Much ado about nothing.
yeah, or yeah, I can see the use case. Like it cleans up some logic, but it's also just like a lot of symbols that have other meaning.
I could see this being in an ETL pipeline where one of the cells is like, you know, starts with a code that's like X, Y, and then it has like a bunch of choices, and then you want to invalidate. So let's try, actually, let's do an invalid case. So test, let's say test main invalid. So let's give it a, let's add some parameters. So, oh wait, is input is a, shouldn't do that one. Let's just say content. Oh, it's fun to live code with y'all. This is very messy, but I like it. So in this case, what I've just added is blank content. And we expect, I think, nothing to pop out because nothing matched. So let's see. And something else did match. It's none. So we should expect none. Very cool. So now let's play, this is invalid. Blank. Let's do go, but now let's say like Smarch. If you've seen The Simpsons, you know what Smarch is because we're having some lousy Smarch weather. No, it's like season 6. Anyway, So this time I ran it in debug just to stop and see if we'll match. And let's see. So notice we jumped over, so we didn't hit this case at all. So this was never hit. And then notice our expectation did pass. So you will get none if your match didn't work. So kind of an interesting case. I could see some I could see this being used in validation, like server-side validation. Any thoughts, Dylan?
Yeah.
Good thought.
I think there's definitely lots of cases, like use cases for a case statement. I think around like CLIs have them too a lot. Like you want to match one or the other and have some sort of variable be set.
Indeed.
Case click.
All right. I almost want to play with this, but I think I want to push it up as an example rather than live code it. Unless, does somebody else want to try live coding? Like I can type in a different example if you want to play with this. Otherwise, I was thinking I'll commit this and push it up, and people are more than free. This is MIT licensed right off the bat. Feel free to play with it. I built it as a little playground, so fork it and should be able to get Docker up and running, and you can play with a Python 3.10 feature without breaking everything, hopefully. So, Dylan, anything I should try out? I was thinking
what a custom match. What about like there's this class thing that they have going on.
Well, I'm interested if this works. Custom match. So what if I put this custom match in here and it's like Zork. So the test is what? Test name Zork. Equals go Zork, and result equals main content, and now it's Zork. And then no result should be like, let's say we just put in like Z. And assert so just to explain what I'm thinking here, what if we have this idea of a custom match, right? So we want to pass this as a parameter and match for one more thing, so we can be a little bit more flexible with these filters. This looks like a potential way to do that. So I wrote a couple tests right here. If you pass in Zork, this should match because Zork is now added as a thing. If it doesn't, it won't. I think this will work, but I'd be surprised. I guess not. Yep, alternative patterns find different names. So I wonder how hacky this is. Probably not going to work. And
so it's probably doing a compile step.
Yeah.
Actually, in the
so
it can probably only
this is invalid.
Match literals that way.
Yeah, I bet you what I have to do is do a guard statement, which they talk about in a little bit further down. But it's interesting. Okay. Well, I think that's where I'll leave it for now. I'm sorry there isn't as much content as most of our meetups usually have, but I thought it would be kind of fun to dive into this. I'm going to go ahead. We'll do a live push to the fork here, and hopefully things go well. go. So that's pushed up. I will link to this one directly, this branch. And then, yeah, our next meetup will be April 7th. People who stuck around, we will do a raffle. I think we'll raffle off one of these pie portals over here. Boom, boom. Thanks for showing up today. It's good to see everybody, actually. And yeah, let's make this fun, shall we? We'll open a Python console. And or actually, I've been keeping track of these a lot better. Hold on, one sec. I just remembered I started like a thing to keep track of this. Sorry. Oh, Scott, did you raise your hand? No? Okay, well. Yeah. So right here, we will add anybody who's in this meetup group. So if you haven't had a chance to join this channel, please go ahead and do so. You'll need to be on the Slack. I think there's like 8 people here right now, but I'm seeing more people in the Zoom. So yeah, so here's the who. Oh, all right. If you are trying to sign up right now and you can't seem to, raise your hand and I'll just add you on the list in the raffle. Going once, going twice. Otherwise, this is going to be who I raffle. Okay. Here we go. Invalid syntax is the winner. Yeah.
There's an extra. Oh no.
Nope. There's the wrong Python installed as by default right now is the problem, Dylan. Justin, you are the winner of the month.
Thanks. Congrats, Justin.
All right, so April 7th is our next meetup. Thank you all for swinging by. I'm going to leave the Zoom going and I'm going to stop recording actually. Oh no, I think we lost the recording because, oh no, I didn't. Okay, cool. So stop recording.